here with another episode of Conversations and Connections. Again, we're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. With us today, Mary Curtis, our one of our counselors. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Hey. So glad you agreed to come on the podcast. I think sometimes people get a look of fear in their eyes when they see me come into the office because I think they anticipate me asking to be on the podcast. And I appreciate you being a brave enough soul to come over and do that. Thank you.
Well, good evening.
So you are one of our counselors here at the agency. Just kind of tell us a little bit about the role that you play here.
Well, I can tell you a little bit about my background first.
Okay.
My name is Mary Curtis. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm also a licensed school counselor, and I have a certification in early childhood. I obtained my degrees from 3 universities. That's the University of Houston, my master's degree from Texas Southern, and my early childhood certification from Rice University.
Wow, so you kind of been all over the place there.
Yeah,
huh?
I wanted to check out the Houston area universities.
So let's kind of go back in. The role of a counselor here at the agency.
The role of the counselor here at the agency is basically to comfort and aid the clients through their journey of abuse and sexual assault.
Okay. And who do you see? Because my office is kind of across from your office, so I see the traffic kind of coming in and out, and I see adults and children. So you see a little bit of everyone, I guess, right?
Yes, I do. I see kids ages from 6. Well, I can say I see clients age 6 to 86, really, because we have had some elderly clients here at the shelter.
Okay. And pardon my ignorance, because I do not have a degree in counseling. My degree is in a completely other realm here. Do you have a specific, and I guess I don't know how to word this, you may correct me on this. Do you have a specific style of counseling?
Well, because of the clientele we service, we basically use the technique of trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which is...
Well, okay, you just
okay,
you made my head explode
Right.
a little bit there.
Which is a therapy or technique use a variety of modalities for the client to be able to identify and for us to be able to identify some of the, I guess you would say, diagnosis that the client would have in our circumstances.
Okay.
Okay.
So I see, I guess, and with kids, I see a lot of toys or little playthings in your office. Does that help the kids?
Yes.
Does it put them at ease, or what's the purpose of giving them something to do like that?
Play therapy is also one of the techniques that we can use with the children, of course. And this helps the kids to relax. It also helps them to talk because, okay, in adult therapy, we basically have a question and answer period. Okay. With a child, if you ask him his name, he's going to look at you. Okay? He may tell you his name, he may not, especially if he's not familiar or trusting you.
Right.
So what we try to do, most of us, is have something in the room that the child can identify with, such as some play objects that they can get on the floor with. They can play with the blocks. They can play with the Legos. Sometimes we play checkers. Sometimes we play Uno. Just trying to get the child to relax and accept us.
Okay.
And so that they can start telling us their story.
Right. Okay. Very well. We've had some all-staff meetings where you've done some presentations to the staff that have been really good, have been very, very impressive. Now, is that something that you bring to your clients, or does that reflect any way of how you relate to your clients? Does that make sense? You know, the way you do these presentations, is that a sample, or does that have anything to do with what you do with your clients.
Yes, because a lot of times I bring the presentations, I bring some of the, I call it the meat of the presentation to the clients. Like, for instance, PTSD. A lot of our women that come in, and even some of our men, are not aware that long-term abuse is also labeled as or diagnosed as PTSD. So if I give them a little PowerPoint real quick of what PTSD is, or even if I give them a sheet and we go over it,
Okay.
then they can start identifying that, oh, I have PTSD. Now, I'm not a diagnostician, and I tell them that immediately, and I refer them out to go get a diagnosis so that we can work with that diagnosis
Okay.
and go from there.
Okay, great. You do see men occasionally,
Yes.
right? How do men react? Are men as forthcoming when the counselor is a woman, or do you think they feel as comfortable talking to a woman?
Not at first, because they're not sure exactly what we're going to be asking.
Okay.
I have to gain their trust, and that's with any
Yeah.
client.
Sure.
But I especially have to gain the men's trust to let them know that I'm not there to judge them,
Right.
and that, men can be abused just like a woman. And once they understand that I understand that, they're not a wimp or they're not a crybaby because they've been abused by their wives or their significant
Sure.
others, then it's it just pours
Okay,
at that
good.
point.
Good. Very well. Now, just knowing you as a coworker, in our conversations, I do know that you're a very God-fearing, and I'm always reluctant, and maybe I'm wrong about this, always reluctant to use the word religious. To me, religious seems very
Spiritual.
formal, spiritual. Then if I use spiritual, I think sometimes people may think, well, that's not necessarily a Christian thing.
Right.
But you're a strong Christian. Let's put it to you that
Yes.
way. I think you said your husband is
He's a deacon in the church.
a deacon. So, is there ever a time where you can? Do you ever bring your Christianity into a session? I know that's kind of a touchy subject with some people, but
Well,
do you kind of feel them out to see if they have the same belief, or does that help you?
Well, I can answer yes and no, okay, to that question, because if the client opens the door and want to expand on their religion, I let them do that. I personally do not bring my religion,
And I understand that. Sure.
or bring those questions to them. They have to open that door. I'm just there to listen.
Sure.
Okay.
Is there a time where you do that? I mean, and does, like, if if the opportunity does present itself, is there, and I again, pardon my ignorance on this, is there a specific way of counseling where you can incorporate Christianity, and does that help?
Yes, it is a way to bring it in. If they
Sure.
open it up,
Sure.
you can ask them what religion they are, what they practice, and you let them open the door, and you just kind of act
Yeah.
or counteract the questions, ask the questions or you repeat what they're saying to you
Okay.
about their religion. And I think when you do that, you give them permission to express more to you how they feel about the situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Got you. So what made you decide to even do this? It takes, I think, again, I personally think it takes a special person of a significant attitude and way of thinking, I guess, is the best way for me that I can think of right now. What made you decide to get into counseling?
Believe it or not, on a Sunday morning when I was around 16 years old, we were sitting in service and a lady burst in our church. She was battered, bloody, torn clothes, and she asked us to save her from her abusive husband. She just said, "Save me from my husband." I was sitting there and I said to myself, ain't no man gonna never do that to me. And I'm serious. And I guess from that day on, I had a journey or mindset that, maybe I could help women and men get out of these situations. And so even when I was in school and I could see my girlfriends being abused, I would immediately step in and say, "Oh no, you don't have to be treated like that. You're a lady. You don't have to have a guy beat on you, or whatever." And so people would call me the counselor, the little counselor, even in a high school. So. And of course, I didn't know what a little counselor was back then. I just knew that it wasn't
Right.
going to happen.
Sure.
And so that's how I got in it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, are you an LPC?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
a licensed professional counselor.
So you could, you got an LPC, you could do so many different, you could take so many different avenues with counseling.
Right.
But you specifically chose this type of counseling. Have you done any other types of counseling in the past? Or
I did. I worked with children. That's why I went and got my early childhood certification. You get kind of burnt out with the children, and I did teenagers. But mostly I like dealing with the women and the men, so I can help them to grow.
I want to go back one second. So, because you see such a diverse, you see men, you see women, you see children. So that's boys and girls. What's the most common issue? Is it domestic violence?
Yes.
I would think the kids may not be directly a quote unquote victim, but they are affected by what happens in the home.
Right.
Is there a commonality? Like, is there one thing in common that you find with most of these people, or is it all over the place?
One thing is self-esteem, low self-esteem.
Okay.
That's the commonality on both men and women. They've been beaten so that they have no self-esteem.
Yeah.
And, some people teach positive affirmations and stuff like that, but I try to find that key to why they don't have self-esteem. I go back, and a lot of times we're laughing because we go back to playing jacks or playing, well, I'll put it like this. I'm in the process of making a quilt with a lady. She's an older lady, and she remembers her mom, them having this talk group. And they would always talk out their problems around making a quilt. Mm-hmm. So we decided that she would make a lap quilt. And so we're in the process of making that lap quilt. Now, I've found out all kinds of information since I did that. The first 5 sessions, she just sit there and cried in my office because she couldn't talk. So I had to reach out and go beyond the box and find out what I could do to get her to open up.
That's really interesting. So, and I think a lot of people, so this was you're making a quilt with a client.
Yes.
So, and I think maybe sometimes it's the simplest things that fascinate me, but, a lot of times people see only what they see in the movies or on TV about going to a counselor or a psychologist or something like that. And it's always they're laying on the couch and the psychologist is next to them. They're writing notes and all of that. And I just think that is so cool. Who would ever thought, in a counseling session, you'd be with a client and y'all are working on a quilt together. Right. I love that.
Whatever it takes. I mean, not whatever, because some things I'm not going to do. But
that's just that is so cool.
I after talking to her and trying to get her to open up, and one day she started talking about how her mom and them had this group, and all they did was sit around, the quilts. It dawned on me, okay, we're going to make a quilt, and so we decided to make a lap quilt. So that's what we're doing.
Very nice. That's someone you're doing. That's
yes.
going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is very neat, Mary. What is it that you find, what do you get most out of what you do? What do you find rewarding? Because, and I'll have a follow-up for that. Go ahead. What do you find rewarding in doing this type of work?
When I see a woman and a man walk out of FCC, which is Family Crisis Center of East Texas, with that newfound strength and determination to live a life without abuse, I think that helps motivate me to continue my journey to end domestic violence and sexual assault. But it's also the strength I see that they get from not only me, but from themselves, that inner strength that comes from them all of a sudden that they didn't realize that they had. And also I like the team members here that help support that. And I have a saying on my wall. It says, when something bad happens, you have 3 choices. You can either let it define you, let it destroy you, or let it strengthen you. And so when I see that strength and I see them, going forth and making comments like, I couldn't have did it without you all. I really appreciate what you do. And you all just don't know how you help me. Those are the things that are most rewarding to me.
Yeah.
I
want to ask you this, and I've asked probably anybody who works directly with our clients. Being a counselor, I'm sure you hear some horrible things, and you see people who are just spilling their guts to you and expressing and telling you all these horrible things that has happened to them. At the end of the day, what does Mary do, or anyone maybe in your profession? How do you cope with that? How do you not bring that home and affect your personal home life? Because you probably have to separate that and put that aside. What do you do? How do you do that?
Well, number one, I have a pond and ducks, as everybody knows. And years ago, I discovered that if I go home and just sit and look at the ducks, look at the fish, I can release. I can just release the day. So by the time I get in the house, because I don't go in my house until I release. Okay.
So you pull into the house driveway, and you go straight to the duck pond.
I go straight to the duck pond so that I can release. And even if it's raining, because I have a patio type thing, so I go and I release. And then when I come in the house, I can, as my husband say, the flag is down, and I can come in and act accordingly with my family, because I realize I can't take everybody's problems in and dump them on him. It's against the law, number one, and number two, he don't want to hear it no way.
But what does your husband think about what you do?
He's always been very supportive. He understands that some things I'm not going to talk about, and that's just the way it is.
Sure. All right. Okay. Well, Mary, thanks.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Again, that's Mary Curtis, one of our counselors here at the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. As always, if you have a question or a comment you'd like to email us, you can do that at conversationsandconnections@fccet.com. And I want to remind you also, if you feel like you need our services, we do have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week hotline. That number is 1-800-828-7233. Again, 1-800-828-7233. And remember, as always, be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.